Hella fellas. Welcome back to Top 5 Choices. Today's video I am gonna do a detailed review and pick the top 5 best budget mirrorless cameras 2021. After doing proper researches, we came to the conclusion that meets the best in terms of overall. Kindly leave a like if you find this helpful, and I'd appreciate if you subscribe to my channel and turn on post notifications if you haven't. We will be also providing affiliates link to purchase from Amazon. Kindly use to for best offers and purchase from anywhere in the world. We'll be back with more videos. The Canon EOS M200 is a new budget, entry-level mirrorless camera that's designed to be easy to use for beginners upgrading from a smartphone. The Canon M200 has a 24.1 megapixel sensor, Wi-Fi and Bluetooth connectivity, and a tilting 180 flip-out touchscreen. Other new features that have been added to the Canon EOS M200 include the latest Canon Digigate processor, dual-pixel CMOS autofocus system, 4K and 120 FPS HD movie recording, a guided user interface, new creative functions and vertical movie shooting for social networks. Canon has attempted to make the camera as appealing as possible to such an imagined and potentially very broad audience. For starters, in weighing just 299 grams without lens affixed, the Canon M200 is no heavier than your traditional pocket-sized 0.3-inch sensor point and shoot compact, that wouldn't have offered even half of this camera's functionality or versatility. Indeed, Canon's pitch this time around is that the M200 offers DSLR quality, via an incorporated 24.1 effective megapixel APS-C sensor, yet a smartphone's approachability and convenience. The larger sensor here is coupled with Canon's Digigate processor. What this adds it's hard to tell, but the camera is certainly responsive, while its interface has been designed to hold the hands of those new to the idea of manual control. The Canon EOS M200's LCD screen offers further flexibility in that it's of the flip-up variety, meaning it can be rotated fully through 180 degrees to face the subject in a peace selfie addicts, or angled so the photographer is looking down on it, in medium format fashion. What we don't get here, however, for anyone who may have used a more advanced camera before, is a hot shoe for the attachment of any accessories such as an electronic viewfinder or flash gun. That said, there is a pop-up flash that's otherwise neatly secreted within the top plate when not in use, and which is activated like a projectile via a slider switch on the camera's flank. All images are composed and reviewed via the self-same LCD, which is also, helpfully, a touch screen, furthering the sense of the familiar for anyone more acquainted to shooting on a smartphone and making the camera more intuitive to use. While those eyeing up whether to invest in Canon's still not quite fully established EOS M system may grumble, there's a paucity of directly compatible EOS M, or FM, lenses. Help is at hand in the shape of an FEOS M mount adapter that can be purchased as an optical extra, thereby providing access to Canon's entire 70+ f and FS lens range. The Panasonic G7 is a direct descendant of the first ever mirrorless camera. Yet, despite this, the last thing it's trying to be is a mirrorless camera. Instead, it's trying to be a non-specific interchangeable lens camera, a camera where you don't have to think about whether it has a mirror or not. As a result, it looks like a miniature DSLR and includes all the control points you'd expect. In fact, it includes all the control points you'd expect from a mid-range DSLR, including twin control dials as well as plenty of buttons and switches. However, because it is a mirrorless camera, it is able to make good use of its fully articulated, touch-sensitive screen. The specifications are pretty solid, too. 16MP isn't exactly cutting edge at this point, but 4K, UHD, video remains something of a rarity, at the time of writing, especially if you factor in the fact that the G7 also offers focus peaking and zebra highlight warnings, two of the key tools necessary for shooting usable video that are often absent from its peers. The G7 also tries to turn its video capability into A+ for people with no intention of shooting video. The EOS M50 Mark II is a compact and easy-to-use mirrorless camera with a 24MP APS-C sensor. It features only modest upgrades compared to its predecessor, but it comes in at an attractive price point with pleasing ergonomics and solid image quality. Upgrades include autofocus refinements, vertical video shooting and the ability to live stream to YouTube directly from the camera, given a strong enough Wi-Fi signal. The EOS M50 Mark II is styled like a mini DSLR, and although it's small, the grip is substantial and comfortable. The camera's controls are almost identical to its predecessor. The control dial, shutter button, record button and MFN can all be found on the top right-hand side of the camera's body. The rest of the camera's controls run alongside the right backside. They're somewhat small and crammed together, and in many cases it's simply easier to use the touchscreen to change your settings. This is particularly true of the small video record button that is flush with the camera's body. Recording video is a lot easier to do via the camera's touchscreen. The menu is easy to navigate and follows the standard organization found in other Canon EOS cameras. The M50 Mark II has a built-in pop-up flash, which is decent for using as a fill, while the Hot Shoe allows you to connect a more powerful external flash. The camera has a 3.5mm microphone jack, micro HDMI and USB micro B slots running down the side. Unfortunately, there is no headphone jack to monitor audio levels while recording video, but that's pretty standard for cameras in this class. Although the M50 Mark II is incredibly lightweight and compact, it's still very comfortable to shoot with thanks to that substantial grip. It's SEPA rated to capture 305 images per charge, and if you are only shooting stills, we found its battery life was solid for a day or more of photocentric activities. If you plan to shoot a lot of video, though, you will want to bring a spare battery along because the battery drains fast. Keep in mind as well, one of the biggest upgrades to the EOS M50 Mark II is its autofocus capability. Although the camera has the same basic AF system as the previous model, the Mark II features face and eye tracking when shooting both stills and video. During our time with the M50 Mark II, we found eye tracking to work very well, even when shooting fast-moving subjects in conditions with low lighting. The EOS M50 Mark II is capable of 4K capture, but we find it's really best if you are planning to stick to 1080p. The Olympus OMD EM10 Mark IV is the entry-level model in the company's DSLR-style lineup of micro Four Thirds cameras. The pen models, such as the EPL10, are rangefinder style. It's a step up from the beginner-focused EPL series, offering more controls, better build quality and a broader feature set. It sports a 20MP 4/3 sensor, in-body image stabilization, flip-down touchscreen with a simple interface and 4K video capture. Olympus swapped out the tilting display on the EM10 III for one that flips down 180 degrees for taking selfies. Unfortunately, the downward tilting design means the display is either blocked by or potentially even fouled by both tripods and selfie sticks, so framing handheld is your only option. When the 3 inches, 1.04 million dot display is flipped down, the camera switches into a selfie mode, which puts virtual shutter release, movie capture and brightness, exposure comp buttons on the screen. There's also a button that turns on a 2-second self-timer that takes 3 photos in a row, and in auto mode, a new one-touch e-portrait button that yields artificially smooth, plasticky-looking skin. A useful addition is USB charging, something that has been missing from lower-end Olympus cameras for far too long. It takes hours to fully charge the battery, but being able to top up on the road is a must-have these days. We wish Olympus still included an external charger. Olympus has also added a new live view boost mode that can make both focusing and framing in low light conditions much easier. The EM10 III's live view boost function merely boosted viewfinder gain, but on the EM10 IV it can optionally reduce the frame rate significantly, as well. This allows a significantly brighter viewfinder image, at the expense of some jerkiness. Under a plastic door on the bottom of the camera you'll find the EM10 IV's battery and memory card compartment. The memory card slot supports high-speed UHS 2 cards, a pleasant surprise for a camera in this price range, and you can tell by how quickly it clears its buffer. The OMD EM10 IV uses the venerable BLS50 lithium-ion battery. The SEPA estimate for battery life is 360 shots per charge using the LCD. Numbers with the viewfinder are not published, which is above average. In most situations you'll be able to take more photos than advertised, though frequent Wi-Fi use may cause the opposite. The A6000 is equipped with a 24-megapixel APS-C sensor, which was state-of-the-art when this camera was launched back in 2014, and only a couple of APS-C cameras improve on this even now. The image sensor has 179 phase detection autofocus points, and there are also 25 contrast detection points for the hybrid AF system. At the time of launch, Sony claimed that the camera had the fastest AF in the world among cameras with an APS-C sized sensor. And while a few cameras have without doubt improved on this since then, it still feels extremely responsive, even by today's standards. On the back of the A6000 is a tilting LCD screen, which is joined by an electronic viewfinder, the same 0.39-inch, 1.4 million dot device found on the first edition RX10 Premium Bridge camera. Reflecting the broader trend, the A6000 comes complete with built-in Wi-Fi and NFC. As its standard kit lens choice, The A6000 comes with a 16 to 50mm f/3.5 to 5.6 power zoom, the same lens that is packaged with the A5000. You can also buy it body only, giving yourself the freedom to choose from the large range of different E-mount lenses now available. Perhaps the perfect all-round lens for this camera is the Zeiss 16 to 70mm f/4 optic, but that comes with a £799 price tag, quite a bit more than the camera itself. The grip of the A6000 is ever so slightly pronounced, making it quite easy to hold, though with a larger lens like the Sony 18 to 135mm f/3.5 to 5.6 it starts to feel slightly front-heavy. There's also a nice texture covering the camera. On top of the camera are two dials, one for controlling the shooting mode, such as automatic, semi-automatic or manual, and another for altering the shutter speed or aperture, depending on the mode you're shooting in.